Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be taking a look at the silver market
Ooh,
and some really interesting things that are happening right now.
interesting times indeed.
Our source material is a YouTube video by a guy named Silver Seeker.
Okay.
And what he did is he documented his trip to a coin show in Carthage, Missouri.
All right.
And he went there with a mission.
With a mission.
He was going to sell 100 ounces of silver at $1 over spot.
Okay.
Now, spot price is just the current market price for silver at any given time.
Right.
So he was really giving it away.
Essentially, yeah.
And he couldn't sell a single ounce.
And that's the crazy thing, right? You would think at $1 over spot,
Yeah.
100 ounces, someone would snatch that up.
Yeah, especially at a coin show.
Right. Exactly.
You would think people would be, ready to buy silver.
Yeah.
So what's really interesting is the video features several different dealers, and they were all having similar experiences to Silver Seeker.
Yeah.
So some of the dealers we see are Mike from Mid-America Coins, a guy named Major Tucker,
Okay.
and Keith from the Coin Crew.
All right.
And they were all having a difficult time selling generic silver rounds in bars.
Yeah, the demand just wasn't there.
Yeah.
And they had some theories about why.
Yeah, like what?
Well, they were talking about things like, market volatility,
Oh, yeah.
economic uncertainty.
So it's kind of like that fear factor.
Yeah, exactly. People are a little hesitant, it seems.
Like, what's going to happen with the economy?
Right, are we heading into a recession? What about inflation?
Right. Are things going to get worse?
Exactly. And traditionally, you'd think people would be flocking to silver.
Like as a safe haven, right?
Exactly. Like, that's the classic playbook. But it seems like that's not happening right now.
Right.
And what's even more interesting is while they're having trouble selling silver,
Yeah.
they're also seeing people needing to liquidate their silver holdings.
Really?
Yeah, like Mike, for example, he bought $37,000 worth of silver from one person.
Wow.
And then $100,000 worth of gold from another person.
Wow.
Both sellers needed cash quickly.
So they needed to liquidate.
Yeah, exactly. It's fascinating.
It's like two sides of the same coin.
Right.
Some people are like, get rid of it. And other people are like, no, I don't want any.
Absolutely. It's a real head scratcher. And it wasn't just at the show either.
Oh, really?
Yeah. One dealer talked about someone dropping off a whole box of silver before the event even started.
Wow.
They were so worried about prices dropping further, they wanted to lock in a price.
Wow, that's fear right there.
That's like peak fear right there.
Yeah.
So, the market can be an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, for sure.
And, fear and greed drive a lot of these decisions.
Right.
And this whole thing is just amplified by all the uncertainty going on right now.
Right. And it's not just about the price of silver, it's about what's happening in the world.
Exactly. It's all interconnected.
Now, there's this other really interesting part of the video where a silver seeker talks to a dealer off camera.
Okay.
And this dealer had some really interesting observations about what he called the squeeze on silver stackers.
The squeeze. Yeah, he was talking about how those who invest heavily in physical silver are kind of getting hit from both sides right now.
So who are these silver stackers? Are they like doomsday preppers or?
Not necessarily. I mean, some might be, but in general, they're just people who believe in silver as a long-term investment.
Oh.
They like to hold physical silver as a way to preserve their wealth.
Gotcha.
So this dealer was saying that stackers are facing a tough situation because on one hand, they're finding it difficult to sell their silver because demand is so low.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, some dealers are taking advantage of this by offering really low buyback prices.
So they're getting squeezed.
Exactly. They're caught between a rock and a hard place.
So it's like a lose-lose for them right now.
It can feel that way for sure.
So what's the advice? What can these silver stackers do?
Well, this dealer's advice was to shop around. Don't just accept the first offer you get. Make sure you're getting a fair price for your silver.
So don't settle.
Exactly. And, do your research, compare prices from different dealers, and don't be afraid to negotiate.
Right. You have to know the value of what you have.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power in this game.
And speaking of knowing your value, Silver Seeker did this little experiment at the end of the show.
Okay. What did he do?
He took a tube of silver rounds to 3 different dealers and asked for their buyback price.
Interesting. And what happened?
Well, the prices varied quite a bit.
Really?
Yeah, and one dealer offered a significantly lower price when he didn't realize he was being recorded.
Oh, wow. So he was trying to pull a fast one.
It seems that way. Yeah.
That's shady.
It really makes you think, how often does this happen?
Who knows? But it definitely highlights the importance of being careful and doing your due diligence.
For sure, don't let anyone take advantage of you.
Exactly. And that's why we're doing this deep dive, right?
to help people understand what's going on.
Absolutely, we need to arm ourselves with knowledge and information so we can make smart decisions.
So stay tuned, because in part 2, we're going to delve into this really interesting contrast between generic silver and collectibles.
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm excited to talk about that.
Me too. It's a real head scratcher why one is struggling while the other seems to be doing okay.
Let's get into it.
All right, let's do it.
You know, one of the most interesting things about this whole coin show experience
Yeah.
is this contrast between how generic silver performed
Yeah.
and how collectible coins and bullion did.
Right, like they're two totally different things.
It's almost like they're in separate markets.
Yeah, why is that? Why are the collectibles doing okay when the generic stuff is tanking?
Well, it boils down to numismatic value.
Okay.
Collectibles have value beyond just the silver content.
So like historical significance?
Exactly. Or they have unique designs.
Okay.
Or maybe they're part of a limited edition.
So it's more about the coin itself.
Right. It's appealing to a different kind of buyer.
Collectors. So for them, it's not just about the price of silver.
No, they're looking for rare and interesting pieces.
Like a hobby almost.
Yeah, you could say that.
They're driven by passion.
Exactly. They want to own a piece of history or something beautiful.
And maybe they're not as worried about the day-to-day fluctuations in the silver price.
Right. The price of silver is a factor, of course,
Sure.
but it's not the main thing driving their decisions.
I can see that it's like comparing buying a share of stock
Okay.
to buying a vintage comic book.
I like that analogy. Yeah.
They both have value, but the comic book
Yeah.
has that extra something.
That historical and cultural significance. And in times of uncertainty, people often find comfort in things that have intrinsic value.
Real things you can hold.
Right, exactly. Tangible assets.
So a collectible coin kind of ticks both those boxes.
It does. It's physical.
You can hold it.
You can hold it.
It has historical value, maybe artistic merit,
Yeah.
and it kind of represents stability.
Right? It's something solid in a world that feels shaky.
And this is interesting because earlier we were talking about how
Yeah.
fear and uncertainty make people risk averse,
Uh-huh.
and that might be why generic silver isn't doing so well.
Right. People are afraid to lose money.
But then with collectibles,
Yeah.
it seems like those same emotions,
Fear, uncertainty.
yeah, are actually driving people towards them.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, because they're looking for that sense of security.
Right. They want something tangible, something real.
It's a fascinating paradox.
It really highlights the complexity of human behavior.
Yeah, and how we react to the market.
Right. There's no simple explanation for why people buy or sell certain things.
It's a mix of things.
It is.
Our emotions, our circumstances,
Yeah.
our personal beliefs.
And our cultural background, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And let's not forget about the power of marketing
Oh, yeah.
and how a good story can make something more desirable,
Absolutely. Collectibles often come with these fascinating stories.
like historical connections.
Yeah. And people love that.
It adds to the allure.
It's like they're buying a piece of the story.
Now, speaking of stories,
Yeah.
the video didn't really delve into the why.
The why behind the silver slump.
Yeah, like what's causing all this uncertainty in the first place?
Right. Well, remember those dealers we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
They were all talking about market volatility
Uh-huh.
and economic worries.
So those are the main culprits.
Yeah, it seems like people are nervous about the future.
Makes sense.
Silver is supposed to be a safe haven, but it can be very volatile.
So it's a safe haven that's not so safe.
It's a bit of a paradox, yeah.
I mean, prices can swing up and down pretty dramatically,
They can. And that makes people hesitant.
especially when you combine that with all the other economic worries.
Like inflation,
Yeah.
recession fears, all
Yeah.
that stuff.
So maybe people are questioning whether silver is really the safe haven they thought it was.
It's possible they might be looking for other options,
Like what?
like certain types of bonds, maybe,
Mhm.
or even some sectors of the stock market.
So things that feel more stable.
Yeah. Or maybe they're shifting towards more tangible assets.
Like real estate.
Exactly. Or even things like art,
Oh, interesting.
things that have intrinsic value and a history of stability.
It's like that saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right. Diversification is key.
Especially when the world feels so unpredictable.
Absolutely. You don't want to bet everything on one horse.
Now, this brings up another interesting point.
Okay.
If people are moving away from silver,
Yeah.
what happens to all the silver stackers?
The people who went all in on silver,
Are they stuck?
well, not necessarily.
No.
Remember, markets are cyclical.
They go up and down.
Exactly what goes
Yeah.
down must come up eventually.
So it's a matter of time.
It could be.
So patience is key for the silver stackers.
Yeah, if you believe in silver as a long-term investment,
Uh-huh.
then you ride out the waves.
Don't panic sell.
Exactly. Because then you lock in your losses.
And you might miss out on the rebound.
Right, but what about the people who need to liquidate now?
Yeah, like those folks at the coin show.
Yeah, they don't have the luxury of waiting.
So what can they do?
Well, that's where understanding your options comes in.
Okay.
And being a smart negotiator.
Right, because we saw how some dealers were lowballing offers.
Yeah, when demand is low,
Yeah.
the dealers have the upper hand,
Because they know people are desperate.
right? So
And
you have to be careful.
shop around.
Exactly. Don't take the first offer you get.
Compare prices.
Yeah, use online marketplaces.
Oh, okay.
Maybe even private sales.
So there are options,
There are always options.
but you have to know what they are.
Exactly. Knowledge is power in this game.
That's a recurring theme for sure.
It is.
And Silver Seeker's little experiment with the buyback prices
Yeah.
really highlighted that.
It did because it showed how some dealers might not be so honest.
They try to take advantage.
Yeah, especially when they think no one's watching.
So trust your gut.
Yes, always trust your gut.
If something feels off, yeah, don't do the deal.
Now, before we wrap up this part,
Right.
I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier.
The psychology of investing.
Exactly, because we saw how fear and uncertainty
Yeah.
can drive people away from silver,
Right.
but also towards collectibles.
It's so strange.
It is, but it's important to understand these things.
So we can make better decisions.
Exactly, if we can anticipate how people might react to certain situations. We can make smarter moves.
We can even capitalize on those trends.
Right, and that's what it's all about.
So we've got this complex interplay of economic conditions,
Yeah,
market volatility, and human psychology.
it's a lot to take in.
It is. But what I find really fascinating is how all of this might reflect bigger economic trends.
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah, like what does this silver slump tell us about consumer confidence, about inflation fears,
Good question.
about the future of precious metals?
Those are all questions worth exploring.
I think we should dive into those bigger picture questions.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we've seen what happened at this Missouri coin show.
Yeah.
Dealers struggling to sell, people needing to liquidate.
Right.
This weird contrast between generic silver and collectible.
Two different worlds.
It's a lot to unpack.
It is.
But now I'm thinking about the bigger picture.
The macro view.
Yeah, like what does this silver slump tell us about the overall economy?
Well, it's not a good sign.
No.
I mean, people are clearly worried. They're not buying silver. Some are even desperate to sell.
So it's like a lack of confidence?
Yeah, in the economy's short-term stability, at least.
Like they're hunkering down,
Exactly, battening down the hatch.
waiting for the storm to pass.
But here's the thing.
What?
If silver's a safe haven,
Yeah,
why aren't people rushing to buy it?
right. That's what's so weird.
You'd think they'd be scooping it up.
Like toilet paper during a pandemic.
Exactly, but they're not.
So maybe it's not as safe as we thought.
Well, silver is volatile.
Oh yeah, we talked about that.
And that volatility can be scary
Especially now.
when everything feels so uncertain.
So it's like a double whammy.
Yeah, it's supposed to protect you.
But it's also risky.
Right, so people are hesitant.
Makes sense?
Maybe they're looking for other safe havens.
Like what? What else is there?
Well, some government bonds can be seen as safe.
Okay.
Certain sectors of the stock market.
Really? Like which ones?
Well, it depends on the specific economic conditions, but generally sectors like consumer staples,
Uh-huh.
healthcare utilities.
Things people always need,
Exactly.
regardless of the economy.
Right,
But those are still kind of risky.
right. Well, every investment has some risk,
True, true.
but people might also be turning to tangible assets.
Things you can hold.
Exactly. Real estate, art collectibles.
Whoa, yeah, we were just talking about collectibles.
Things with intrinsic value.
A history of holding their value.
Right.
So maybe silver's losing its shine as a safe haven.
It's possible.
Maybe people are losing faith.
And looking for alternatives.
So what happens to all the silver stackers?
The ones who believed in silver.
Are they out of luck?
Well, not necessarily.
Big-
Markets are cyclical.
Ups and downs.
Exactly, silver could rebound.
So there's still hope.
There's always hope.
Patience is key.
Yeah, if you're in it for the long haul,
Don't panic sell.
ride the waves.
But what about those who need to sell now?
The ones who can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, they need to be smart.
Savvy negotiators.
Shop around, compare prices.
We talked about that.
Don't take the first offer.
There are options.
Coin shows dealers, online marketplaces.
Even private sales.
Do your research.
Knowledge is power.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the main point.
Education.
Yeah. The more you know
The better decisions you can make.
about silver or any investment.
This has been a wild ride.
It has.
So many twists and turns.
Real deep dive.
We've learned a lot about silver,
About the market, about ourselves.
about fear, greed, uncertainty.
All the things that drive our decisions.
It's all connected.
It is.
So keep learning. Keep asking questions.
Don't be afraid to challenge assumptions.
And remember, knowledge is power.
And that's what this deep dive is all about.
Empowering you to make smart decisions.
About your finances, your future, your life.
So thank you for joining us
We'll see you next time.
for another deep dive into the world of finance.
Happy investing, everyone.
And stay curious.